wondering where this beautiful and very humble couple came from, back in 2019 we spent the year building out our schoolie. After the build was done, we sold our house and traveled for a full year. Following that year of travel, we started to crave building again and getting something 4x4. Successful Home Depot run to finish up our outside projects. We're actually getting pretty close here, guys. Pretty exciting. What are you doing right now?
I had a revelation that we need to order paint because it's getting close.
Yeah.
And we also want to paint before we do the Econoline, just in case like painter's tape doesn't stick to the Econoline. I'm sure it'll stick to the paint. That way we have a nice transition. I finally got the right bolts for our mini split, so I'm bolting it up. And then we're gonna do like a little cable from the top of the mini split to where our solar panels are bolted into the roof. And I'm gonna have like a metal brace there as well. So that way it kind of just keeps it from wobbling and keeps it sturdy up there.
Push.
Anything happening?
No. It's like connected right there. I can't get in there.
It's not moving at all?
You can see that it's leaning on the top end that way a bit, so that's what Lance is working on right now to try to get it to sit in a little bit more.
I like that. Drill it in.
So we just screwed those eyelets in. You can see Lance fussing with. And that's what Lance is going to be connecting the cable to the mini split unit.
Okay, so we're gonna do some bondo. As you saw, I just did a bunch of metal work there. And now I went out and I got this tray and we have some bondo. This is like high bond. So I got this because we're sticking to like mill scale metal. Just like any other bondo pretty much. The metal is not perfect and this one especially isn't perfect. Whenever I bent these, since I did it by hand, it's got a little waving to it. You can probably see. And then on the inside, I welded some bolts along here so that way we can bolt on wood in the future. And what I went ahead and did is took a hammer and pounded those in so you can see those little like outward thingies, how they're bulged out like that. So I pounded them in so that way I can bondo over them because I'm not great at actual metal working, and that's what bondo's for. You know, getting the metal perfectly smooth with a hammer type deal. So what I'll do is just kind of do a bondo coat over this corner and we will get this corner nice and perfect. And then you can also see these welds aren't perfectly blended, and that's because I didn't think we needed to, because we're actually gonna flow these corners with like a 1/2 inch round over, and then we'll go ahead and spray a primer over all this, sand it down, find our high spots. As you can see here how this is sanded down, you can already see a lot of our highs and lows based on which parts have been touched and which parts haven't. And that is a consequence of heating up this whole panel by welding it. And that's why we have all this weird warpage going on here. I'm starting here with body work because this is gonna be the most work within the whole place. So we wanna mix real good here to get all of this stuff mixed in. So we're building up the surface with this, and then we will just sand it right on down after.
So Allie's on the job site today. Figured if we start just chipping away at this, it will make the job maybe feel less grand. Gotta wear sunscreen. So I want to show you really quick the tool that we got for this. It's the Bauer surface conditioning tool. And it came with a 40 grit stripping drum, 120 grit, and a 240 grit. We are going to be sandblasting the inside of the doors, so like in here. Maybe I'll come in with this just right here on the big parts. But we are going to be painting like all of the insides. We want to make it look like it was already that paint, not, you know, tan, the paint color we're choosing, rhino liner. We're painting everything. Also, yesterday there was a good breeze. It's pretty stagnant today, so wear your respirator with this stuff, guys. Oh, it's getting hot. How do you feel about the bondo process so far, Ben?
Very tedious. That's for sure. Well, considering I don't really know what I'm doing, it's a lot of learning as I go. So I went out and got these little tools. So it's basically like a foam block. And what I'm gonna do is take it here and then just form this corner. So what I did is I just cut down this little putty knife or whatever, so that way it can fit here. So I'll put bondo and then kind of just spread it in this corner. And then this is the same as that. So then I'll come through and just finish sand it with this afterwards. So on this piece here, I'm using like a high strength bondo, which is this like this tan color that looks like primer. And then this is just standard bondo here. On the inside, there's a strip of metal that goes here, and then the bed framing is tied to both walls. And so that's why there's all this body work here, is just trying to hide where those welds are, because they swolled the metal up a bit. Not the best thing ever, but it's there. Now I'm just trying to blend this into the side, and I want it to be like actually like swooping rather than like just a hard cut. So that's why I'm making this. And then I will cut it once I'm done with this one. Maybe I'll actually do the other side. I'll cut it in and groove it out and everything to this little groove, so that way I can get it in there and then do the bottom here.
Okay, so here's what we've learned from our buddy Chris at Napa. Thank you so much for helping us with this process. Lance, and especially me, has never done any type of body work like this, and so it's been a huge learning curve. And Chris, thank you again, helped us a ton. He basically told us what we need to do. We jumped the gun. Of course, it was me doing the jumping of the gun. And that sander that we used went a little too deep on these edges. So now Lance is going to go through with the sander he's been using, this one, to try to even everything out. So then once that's done, once that very tedious job is done, we can go in with more bondo, fix any dents that he's already kind of been working with, anything major. And then once that's done, we can go through with some spray can filler if we want to do that anywhere in any spots. That's the filler. And then once that's done, we're gonna go in with an epoxy primer. And the reason being for that is because we have a fiberglass roof, and the epoxy primer is going to be the best one that will stick to basically everything. And then when that's done, and again, there's gonna be a lot of sanding in between all of these processes, a lot of tedious work. Lance is being amazing. Once that's done and the primer's on, we're gonna go in with a single step paint that actually has everything within it. We do have to mix in some things. It's like an 8-to-1 ratio. We'll go into that on the next video. But once that's done, we can actually go in with that paint and start painting the van. So that all-in-one paint actually has the clear coat in it, so it's not going to be a base coat, middle coat, top coat. It's just literally all-in-one with the clear in it. And you could do it the other way. When we talked to Chris, we kind of just decided to do it this way. And the engine parts are actually coming on Saturday, so who knows what next video is going to look like. But to spare you a lot of sanding and prep work, we'll see you on the next video. Make sure to like, subscribe to see where this baby goes.